The light in the sky grew brighter, spreading like a crack across the heavens. It wasn't natural. Stars didn't behave this way. They didn't flicker, pulse, or move. But this light did all three. Luke stood frozen on the beach, his feet sinking into the cold sand. He wanted to run, to shout, to do something. But what could he do? He was just a man, an ex-logistics officer, a teacher. Not a soldier, not a hero. The academy was only a few minutes away. He could wake the cadets, call for help, send a message. But who would listen? Earth's fleet had ignored so much before. Why would they care? Now? He turned back to the ocean. The waves were calm, their rhythm steady. The world felt normal, except for the sky. Then it came. A sound, not loud, but deep. A vibration that traveled through the air, the ground, and even his bones. It wasn't a roar or an explosion. It was more like a hum, steady and unrelenting. It made his teeth ache and his chest tighten. "What is that?" a voice asked behind him. Luke spun around. It was one of his students, a young woman named Amy. She stood there in her uniform, clutching a flashlight. Her face was pale, her eyes wide. "You shouldn't be here," Luke said quickly. "Go back inside." "But what's happening?" she asked, pointing at the sky. Luke hesitated. "I don't know." Amy stepped closer. "Yes, you do. I've heard you, in class. When people ask about the fleet, you always stop talking, but you never say why. Is this why?" Luke didn't answer. He couldn't. The light was growing stronger now, filling half the sky. It wasn't white anymore. It had shifted to a strange greenish hue, like nothing he'd ever seen. Amy grabbed his arm. "Tell me!" Before he could respond, the ground shook. Not a small tremor, but a deep rumble, like the earth itself was cracking open. The ocean rippled violently, birds scattered from the trees, screaming into the night. Then, above them, something appeared. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't anything human. It was massive, far larger than any sentinel dreadnought, and shaped like a jagged mountain floating in space. Its surface shimmered, as if it were made of liquid metal. Lights pulsed along its edges, glowing faintly, in patterns that seemed almost alive. "What is that?" Amy whispered. Luke shook his head. "I don't know." But he did know one thing. It wasn't part of Earth's fleet. The object hovered silently, casting a shadow over the town. Lights went out in houses. Cars stopped working. Phones died. Everything electronic simply shut down. People began to come outside, staring up at the sky. Some screamed. Others cried. Most just stood there, too shocked to move. Then, without warning, the object spoke. Its voice was everywhere, at once soft and deafening, calm and terrifying. It wasn't in any language Luke recognized, yet somehow he understood it. Everyone did. "We see you," it said. "We hear you. We have watched your wars, your laws, your silence. Now, we will speak." Amy clutched Luke's arm tighter. "What does it mean?" Luke didn't answer. He was thinking of the Cathar, of Helios 9, of Series 4X, of the law that had ruled human space for so long. "Is it here to fight?" Amy asked. "I don't think so," Luke said quietly. "Not yet. The object didn't attack. It didn't fire weapons or destroy buildings. It just stayed there, watching, waiting." Hours passed. The sun rose, but the light in the sky didn't fade. It hung there, unmoving, unchanging. People tried to leave the town, but their cars wouldn't start. Planes grounded themselves. Even bicycles seemed to resist movement, their tires refusing to turn. By noon, word spread. News outlets around the world reported the phenomenon, though. No one knew what to call it. Some called it an alien invasion. Others thought it was a natural disaster, a cosmic event beyond human understanding. A few believed it was a test, a challenge, from something far older and greater than humanity. Earth's fleet finally responded. 3 Sentinel ships, the Atlantis, the Sovereign, and the Endurance, jumped into orbit, surrounding the object. Their black hulls gleamed in the sunlight, their weapons ready. Captain Daniel Cross stood on the bridge of the Endurance, staring at the screen. His face was calm, but his hands gripped the arms of his chair tightly. "Status?" he asked. "Unknown vessel," the AI replied. "No known energy signatures, no weapons detected, no communication attempts." Daniel frowned. "Send the standard warning, restricted space, disband and withdraw." The signal was sent. The object didn't respond. "Try again," Daniel ordered. "All frequencies." Still nothing. "Prepare quantum resonance drive," he said. "If it moves, we act." The crew worked quickly, their movements precise. The fleet had faced threats before. They had crushed rebellions, destroyed armadas, and erased entire colonies. This was no different. Or so they thought. Back on the beach, Luke watched the standoff. The Sentinel ships looked small next to the massive object, tiny specks against a mountain of light. "They're going to attack it," Amy said. "Maybe," Luke replied, "but I don't think it'll work." "Why not?" "Because it's not afraid of them." As if to prove his point, the object moved. It didn't turn or shift. It simply expanded, growing larger until it filled the entire sky. The Sentinel ships adjusted their positions, keeping their distance. But they didn't fire. Then the object spoke again. "Your fleet is strong," it said. "Your law is clear. But strength and order are not enough. You have silenced those who question. You have erased those who defy. But silence does not create truth. Order does not create peace." The words echoed in Luke's mind. He had thought the same thing many times, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real. Terrifyingly real. "What does it want?" Amy asked. "To talk," Luke said. "To make us listen." High above, Captain Daniel Cross listened too. His face remained calm, but his thoughts raced. He had spent decades enforcing the law. He had seen what happened when it was broken. But now, for the first time, he wondered if the law itself was wrong. "Record the transmission," he ordered. "Send it to command." The object continued speaking. "You have built walls. You have drawn lines. You have told yourselves these things keep you safe. But safety is not life. Silence is not wisdom. Fear is not strength. We are here to teach you." The words struck a nerve, not just in Daniel, but in every human who heard them. The object wasn't attacking. It wasn't threatening. It was offering something else. Something no one had expected. A lesson. On Earth, the council gathered in their underground chamber. The room was silent except for the hum of screens displaying the transmission. No one spoke. No one argued. They just listened. When the message ended, the man in the gray suit stood up. "What do we do?" someone asked. "Nothing," the man replied. Yet. And so, the fleet waited. The object waited. The world waited. The stars were still quiet, but the silence had changed. It wasn't empty anymore. It was full of questions. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the bustling centers of interstellar trade and politics, there was a small blue planet called Earth. To most of the advanced civilizations scattered across the stars, Earth was nothing more than an afterthought. Its people were seen as primitive beings who had barely scratched the surface of what it meant to be truly civilized. They were considered weak, unorganized, and unworthy of attention. But all of that was about to change. One crisp morning, something unusual happened. High above Earth's atmosphere, in a dimly lit room filled with blinking screens and humming machines, Jack Harper sat staring at his monitor. Jack was a scientist, not the kind you'd see in flashy movies wearing a lab coat and shouting, "Eureka!" He was just a regular man with a sharp mind and a knack for solving problems. His job was to watch over Earth's early warning systems, tools designed to detect anything strange happening in space. And today, something strange was definitely happening. On his screen, a series of numbers and graphs flickered wildly. At first, Jack thought it might be a glitch. These systems weren't perfect after all. But as he studied the data more closely, his heart began to race. The readings showed a massive energy spike coming from deep space. It wasn't natural, it was artificial. Something big was heading toward Earth. Jack leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. He knew he couldn't keep this to himself. Quickly, he picked up the phone and dialed a number he had memorized long ago. On the other end, Laura Bennett answered. Laura was no ordinary diplomat. She had spent years preparing for moments like this, crafting plans for how humanity might handle its first contact with extraterrestrial life. Her voice was calm when she answered, but Jack could hear the tension underneath. Laura, Jack said without preamble. We've got a problem. Within minutes, Laura arrived at the facility. She was a tall woman with dark hair tied neatly into a bun, and her eyes carried the weight of someone who had seen too much, but refused to look away. Jack greeted her with a nod and gestured toward the monitors. Together they pored over the data, piecing together what they could. Whatever was out there, it was moving fast, and it was enormous. As they worked, news broke around the world. Observatories and amateur astronomers alike spotted it. A fleet of ships so large they could be seen with the naked eye. The ships glowed, faintly against the blackness of space, their shapes sleek and menacing. Panic spread quickly. Social media erupted with speculation. Governments scrambled to respond, and people everywhere looked up at the sky with dread. The fleet belonged to the Zorathians, though no one on Earth knew that yet. The Zorathians were one of the strongest races in the galaxy, feared for their military might and ruthless efficiency. Their leader, Commander Cale Vorn, was known throughout the cosmos as a brilliant tactician with little patience for weakness. When his fleet entered the Sol system, it wasn't to make friends or negotiate treaties. It was to take what they wanted and leave destruction in their wake. Back on Earth, Jack and Laura faced a daunting challenge. They needed to figure out what to do next. Governments were already talking about launching missiles and scrambling fighter jets, but Jack shook his head. That won't work, he told Laura. If these ships are as advanced as they look, we'll be throwing rocks at a tank. Laura agreed. There had to be another way. While others prepared for war, she remembered something important, a project buried deep within classified files. It was called Project Echo, and it represented humanity's last hope. Developed in secret over decades, Project Echo was designed to harness Earth's natural magnetic field and turn it into a shield. If successful, it could protect the planet from even the most devastating attacks. But there was a catch. It needed time to activate fully. Time was something Earth didn't have much of. As the hours ticked by, fear gripped the planet. Cities buzzed with nervous energy as people braced for the worst. Some prayed, others cried, and many simply waited, unsure of what would come next. In the midst of the chaos, Jack and Laura worked tirelessly. They gathered a team of engineers and scientists, pulling them out of retirement if necessary. Every available hand was needed to get Project Echo online. Meanwhile, high above Earth, the Zorathian fleet slowed its approach. Commander Vorn stood on the bridge of his flagship, gazing down at the tiny blue planet below. To him, Earth was insignificant, a mere speck in the vastness of the galaxy. Yet something bothered him. Why hadn't the humans attacked yet? Most species would have fired blindly in desperation by now. Instead, Earth remained eerily silent. Vorn turned to his second-in-command, a stern-looking officer named Rin. "Send a message," he ordered. "Tell them we are here to claim what is ours. If they resist, they will be destroyed." The message was broadcast across every frequency, loud and clear. People on Earth listened in stunned silence as the alien voice boomed through radios and televisions. The Zorathians demanded total compliance, offering no room for negotiation. For many, it felt like the end of the world, but Jack and Laura refused to give up. They knew that surrender wasn't an option. Not yet. Using Earth's orbital communication, a raise, they crafted a reply. It wasn't a plea for mercy or a declaration of war. Instead, it was a simple message of curiosity and respect. "We are here," it read. "Let us speak before acting." When the message reached the Zorathian fleet, Vorn raised an eyebrow. Curiosity? Respect? These were concepts he rarely encountered in his line of work. Intrigued despite himself, he decided to meet with the humans personally. Perhaps, he thought, there was more to this seemingly weak species than met the eye, and so, as the fate of Earth hung precariously in the balance, two very different forces prepared to face each other. On one side stood the mighty Zorathians, armed to the teeth and ready to conquer. On the other stood humanity, fragile and flawed but determined to survive. What neither side realized was that the true battle wouldn't be fought with weapons or shields. It would be fought with words, courage, and an unshakable belief in the power of patience. For now, the clock continued to tick. Every second brought the Zorathians closer to Earth, and every second brought humanity closer to discovering whether its greatest strength lay not in brute force, but in the quiet resolve to endure. The Zorathian fleet hovered menacingly above Earth, its ships casting long shadows over the planet below. Commander Cale Vorn sat in the command chair of his flagship, staring at the glowing displays that showed the results of his limited assault. The attack had been a calculated move, a way to test humanity's defenses and break their spirit, but what he saw on the screens confused him. Several missiles had been deflected, as if an invisible force had blocked them. Casualties were lower than expected, and reports from his officers indicated that the humans were responding with surprising resilience. Vorn clenched his fists, his sharp features tightening with frustration. He had underestimated these humans once already, and now they were proving to be more complicated than he had imagined. "Explain this," he growled, pointing at the data showing the failed attacks. One of his engineers stepped forward hesitantly. "Commander, it appears Earth has developed some kind of energy shield. It's not fully operational yet, but it's effective enough to deflect our weapons." "A shield?" Vorn repeated, his voice dripping with disbelief. "How could such primitive beings create something like that?" No one answered. The room fell silent, the weight of the question hanging heavy in the air. Vorn stood and began pacing, his mind racing. This development changed everything. If the humans managed to perfect their shield, his fleet would lose its greatest advantage, overwhelming firepower. He couldn't let that happen. Back on Earth, Jack, Harper, and Laura, Bennett watched the aftermath of the attack unfold. Cities had been damaged, lives lost, but the shield had saved countless others. People gathered in streets and parks, cheering despite the destruction around them. The news of the deflected missiles spread like wildfire, igniting a spark of hope. In even the darkest corners of the world, Jack felt a surge of pride as he reviewed the shield's performance. It wasn't perfect. Some areas hadn't been fully protected, but it was working better than anyone had dared to hope. "We're doing it, Laura," he said, turning to her with a tired but triumphant smile. "We're holding them off." Laura nodded, though her expression remained serious. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. Vorn won't stop until he's sure we're beaten. And if he figures out how close we are to finishing the shield—" She didn't need to finish the sentence. Both of them knew what was at stake. If the Zorathians launched a full-scale assault before Project Echo was complete, Earth wouldn't stand a chance. They needed more time and patience to finish the job. At a secure facility deep underground, engineers worked tirelessly to stabilize the shield. The equipment hummed and buzzed, filling the room with a constant mechanical symphony. Monitors displayed streams of data, tracking the shield's strength and coverage. Every second counted, and the pressure was immense. One wrong calculation could mean disaster. Daniel Cruz, a retired general who had spent years overseeing Project Echo, moved between the technicians, offering guidance and encouragement. His gruff demeanor masked a deep concern for the people under his care. "Keep pushing," he urged. "We're almost there." Meanwhile, Laura prepared for another meeting with Commander Vorn. She knew it was risky. Every encounter with the Zorathians carried the threat of violence. But she also knew it was necessary. Humanity needed to buy more time, and diplomacy was their best chance. As she boarded the spacecraft that would take her back to the Zorathian flagship, Laura felt a mix of fear and determination. She carried with her a small device containing new information about Earth's capabilities. It wasn't much, but she hoped it would be enough to keep Vorn guessing. When she arrived aboard the flagship, Vorn greeted her with barely concealed hostility. "You dare return after your pathetic display of resistance?" he sneered. "Do you think your little shield will save you?" Laura met his gaze without flinching. "Our shield is just one example of what we're capable of, Commander. You've seen only a fraction of what humanity can achieve." Vorn's eyes narrowed. "You speak boldly for someone in your position." "I speak the truth," Laura replied. She activated the device, projecting holographic images into the air. This time, the displays focused on Earth's scientific achievements, experiments involving quantum physics, advanced robotics, and sustainable energy solutions. There were also glimpses of humanity's cultural milestones, from literature to art to music. Each image painted a picture of a species that valued creativity as much as survival. For a moment, Vorn was silent. These humans weren't just survivors. They were innovators. Their technology might not match his own, but their ingenuity was undeniable. And their culture, it was strange, alien to him, yet undeniably fascinating. "Why are you showing me this?" Vorn asked finally, his tone less harsh than before. "To show you that humanity isn't what you think we are," Laura explained. "We may not have your power or your weapons, but we have something else, the ability to adapt, to learn, to endure. Destroying us won't be as easy as you believe." Vorn studied her carefully, searching for any sign of deception. But Laura's words rang true. For the first time, he began to question whether conquering Earth was worth the cost. These humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and determined. If they truly perfected their shield, his fleet could face significant losses. Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Another officer rushed forward, whispering urgently in Vorn's ear. Laura tensed, wondering what had happened. Had the shield failed? Was Earth under attack again? Vorn dismissed the officer with a wave of his hand and turned back to Laura. "It seems your planet is attempting something new," he said, his voice tinged with suspicion. "What are you hiding?" Laura kept her expression neutral. "I'm not hiding anything, Commander. I told you. We're survivors. We'll do whatever it takes to protect our home." Vorn didn't reply immediately. Instead, he stared at her for a long moment, his glowing eyes unreadable. Finally, he spoke. "Very well. You've bought yourselves a little more time, but know this. If you continue to resist, the consequences will be severe." With that, the meeting ended. Laura was escorted back to her ship and sent on her way. As she descended toward Earth, she allowed herself a small sigh of relief. They had gained more time, but she knew the real battle was still ahead. Back on Earth, work on Project Echo continued at a frantic pace. Engineers fine-tuned the shield, expanding its coverage and strengthening its defenses. Scientists monitored every detail, ensuring the system remained stable. The entire operation was a delicate balancing act, requiring precision and focus. "Inai," The skies above, Vorn ordered his fleet to prepare for a full-scale invasion. He was running out of patience, and his pride demanded action. Yet doubts lingered in his mind. These humans were unlike any species he had encountered before. Their defiance, their ingenuity, their sheer determination, it all made him uneasy. His second-in-command, Rin, noticed his hesitation. "Commander, what holds you back?" she asked. "We have the power to crush them. Why delay?" Vorn hesitated before answering. "Because I sense there is more to these humans than meets the eye. They are clever, adaptable. Rushing in blindly could lead to failure." Rin frowned. "Failure? From you? Impossible." Vorn shot her a sharp look. "Do not mistake caution for weakness, Rin. Sometimes patience is the key to victory." As the hours ticked by, tension mounted on both sides. On Earth, people braced themselves for the worst. Families huddled together, praying for safety. Volunteers worked tirelessly to assist the injured and displaced. Governments issued emergency broadcasts, urging citizens to remain calm and united. Amidst the chaos, Jack and Laura visited shelters and research facilities, offering words of encouragement and reassurance. They reminded everyone that humanity's strength lay not in individual acts of heroism, but in collective determination. Patience, they repeated over and over, was their greatest weapon. And so, as the sun set over a battered but resilient Earth, humanity prepared for the next phase of its fight. The shield grew stronger with each passing hour, its shimmering energy becoming more stable and reliable. Technicians cheered quietly as they reached new milestones, knowing they were one step closer to protecting their planet. In space, Vorn watched Earth with growing unease. His sensors detected the shield's increasing strength, confirming his fears. These humans were not giving up. They were fighting back, not with brute force, but with strategy and resolve. For the first time in his long career, Vorn felt a flicker of doubt. Could he truly conquer this stubborn, ingenious species? Or would his pride blind him to the reality of the situation? As the clock ticked down to the moment of truth, both sides prepared for the ultimate showdown. Humanity clung to hope, while the Zorathians readied themselves for war. The outcome was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Earth's quiet warning to the galaxy's strongest had been heard. Patience was never weakness. It was power waiting to be unleashed. The moment of truth arrived faster than anyone expected. The Zorathian fleet, no longer content with probing attacks, launched a full-scale assault on Earth. Hundreds of ships descended like a swarm of locusts, their weapons charging and firing in unison. Bright beams of energy streaked across the sky, illuminating cities, oceans, and forests below. The sheer scale of the attack was overwhelming, and for a brief moment, it seemed as though humanity's defiance would be crushed under the weight of superior firepower. But then something extraordinary happened. The shield, Project Echo, activated fully, enveloping the planet in a shimmering dome of energy. Every missile, every laser beam, every explosive projectile was deflected harmlessly into space. The Zorathians watched in stunned silence as their most devastating weapons failed to penetrate the barrier. It was as if Earth had grown an impenetrable shell, protecting its people from the wrath above. On the ground, cheers erupted in cities around the world. People who had been huddled in fear moments earlier now spilled into the streets, pointing at the glowing sky with tears in their eyes. The shield wasn't just a technological marvel. It was a symbol of hope, proof that humanity could stand against even the strongest enemies. Jack Harper stood in the control room, his hands trembling as he stared at the monitors. "We did it," he whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "It actually worked." Laura Bennett, standing beside him, felt a surge of pride, but knew they couldn't celebrate yet. The shield had held, for now, but the battle was far from over. She turned to Daniel Cruz, the retired general overseeing the operation. "How long can we maintain this?" she asked. Daniel studied the readings carefully before answering. The shield is stable, but it's not invincible. If the Zorathians keep hammering at it, they'll eventually find a weak spot. We need to end this before that happens. High above Earth, Commander Cale Vorn stared at the glowing barrier in disbelief. His flagship hovered at a safe distance, its sensors scanning the shield for any sign of weakness. Nothing. It was perfect, or so it seemed. Vorn clenched his fists, his frustration boiling over. He had never faced an opponent like this. Most civilizations either surrendered or were annihilated within hours. These humans, they were different. They had created something he couldn't break. Rin, his second-in-command, approached cautiously. "Commander, what are your orders? Do we continue the assault?" Vorn hesitated. For the first time in his life, he didn't know what to do. Attacking blindly would waste resources and risk damaging his fleet. Yet retreating would mean admitting defeat, a concept foreign to someone like him. He turned to Rin, his voice low and dangerous. "Prepare another strike. Focus all firepower on one section of the shield. If there's a flaw, we'll find it." Back on Earth, Jack and Laura monitored the situation closely. The shield was holding, but the strain was evident. Energy levels fluctuated wildly as the Zorathians intensified their bombardment. Engineers scrambled to stabilize the system, making adjustments in real time. "They're targeting the equator," one technician shouted. "We're losing power in that region." Jack sprang into action, typing furiously at his console. "Redirect energy from other sections to reinforce the weak point," he ordered. The team worked together seamlessly, their years of preparation paying off. Slowly but surely, the shield stabilized once more. Laura, meanwhile, prepared for another meeting with Vorn. She knew the Zorathian commander was frustrated, and she hoped to use that to her advantage. Using Earth's communication arrays, she sent a message to the flagship. "Your attacks will fail. Let us speak again, Commander. There is still a way to resolve this without further destruction." To her surprise, Vorn agreed. Perhaps he realized that brute force alone wouldn't win the day, or perhaps curiosity got the better of him. Either way, Laura boarded a spacecraft once more, accompanied by Jack and a small security detail. As they ascended toward the Zorathian fleet, Laura rehearsed, her words silently. This meeting would be critical. If she could convince Vorn to stand down, countless lives might be saved. When they arrived aboard the flagship, Vorn greeted them with barely concealed anger. "You've made your point," he growled. "Your shield is impressive, but why should I believe you won't turn it against us?" Laura met his gaze steadily. "Because our goal isn't conquest, Commander. It's survival. We don't want war. We want peace. If you leave us alone, we'll share knowledge and resources willingly. But if you continue to attack, we'll defend ourselves however we must." Vorn studied her carefully, searching for any hint of deception. Her words carried sincerity, but he couldn't ignore the threat behind them. These humans were clever. They had proven that much. And their shield was a game changer. Destroying Earth might come at too high a cost. "What makes you think I care about your offers?" Vorn asked finally, his tone softer than before. "Because you're a leader," Laura replied. "And leaders understand the value of alliances. Imagine what we could achieve together, not through domination, but through cooperation." For a moment, Vorn said nothing. He looked past Laura, out the viewport at the glowing shield surrounding Earth. It was a testament to human ingenuity, resilience, and determination. For all their flaws, these beings had accomplished something remarkable. Could they truly be allies instead of enemies? Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. One of his officers rushed forward, whispering urgently in his ear. Vorn's expression darkened. "It seems your people are attempting something new," he said, turning back to Laura. "What is this?" Laura frowned, confused. She hadn't authorized any new actions. I don't know what you're talking about, Commander. I assure you I'm here in good faith. Vorn hesitated, torn between suspicion and intrigue. Finally, he made a decision. Very well. I will withdraw my forces for now. But know this. If you betray me, there will be no mercy. With that, the meeting ended. Laura and Jack were escorted back to their ship and sent on their way. As they descended toward Earth, relief washed over them. They had bought humanity a reprieve, but they knew the fight wasn't over yet. Back on Earth, news of the ceasefire spread quickly. People celebrated cautiously, unsure whether the Zorathians would truly leave. Governments convened emergency meetings to discuss next steps, while scientists worked to ensure the shield remained operational. Jack and Laura visited research facilities, offering guidance and reassurance. They reminded everyone that patience and unity had brought them this far, and those same qualities would see them through whatever came next. In space, Vorn gathered his officers for a final briefing. "We are leaving," he announced, his voice firm. "But this is not surrender. We will return, if necessary. In the meantime, monitor Earth closely. Learn everything you can about their technology and culture." His officers nodded, though some looked uneasy. Retreating wasn't part of their usual strategy, but they trusted Vorn's judgment. As the fleet began its withdrawal, Vorn gazed at Earth one last time. These humans had surprised him, challenged him, and forced him to reconsider his assumptions. Perhaps they were stronger than he had thought. As the Zorathian ships disappeared into the void, Earth breathed a collective sigh of relief. The immediate threat was gone, but the scars of the conflict remained. Cities lay in ruins. Families mourned their losses, and the planet bore the marks of a brutal assault. Yet amidst the devastation, there was also hope. Humanity had proven that strength wasn't always loud or aggressive. It could also be quiet, steady, and enduring. Jack and Laura stood side by side, watching the horizon as dawn broke over a battered but resilient world. They knew the road ahead would be difficult, but they also knew that humanity had taken its first step toward a brighter future. Patience, they realized, was never weakness. It was power waiting to be unleashed. And so, as the sun rose over a planet determined to rebuild, Earth sent a message to the stars, a message of resilience, unity, and quiet defiance. The galaxy's strongest had underestimated humanity once. They wouldn't make the same mistake twice. The days that followed the Zorathian withdrawal were filled with a mix of relief and uncertainty. On Earth, people began the slow process of rebuilding what had been lost. Cities scarred by the attack were cleared of debris, homes were patched up, and streets once again buzzed with life. Yet beneath the surface, a quiet tension lingered. No one knew if the Zorathians would return, or when. The shield remained active, its shimmering glow a constant reminder of both humanity's strength and its vulnerability. Jack Harper and Laura Bennett continued to work tirelessly, ensuring that Project Echo stayed operational while preparing for any future threats. They traveled across the globe, visiting shelters, research facilities, and government offices. Everywhere they went, they shared a simple message. We survived because we worked together. If we stay united, we can face anything. Their words resonated deeply with people. Strangers who had once been divided by borders, languages, or beliefs now found common ground in their shared struggle. Volunteers from all walks of life came forward to help rebuild communities. Scientists collaborated on new technologies. Artists created works inspired by hope and resilience, and ordinary citizens stepped up to support one another. Humanity was showing its true strength, not through weapons or shields, but through unity and compassion. High above Earth, Commander Cale Vorn and his fleet retreated to a distant corner of the galaxy. The journey back was long and silent, each member of the crew lost in thought. For Vorn, it was a time of reflection. He replayed the events of the past days in his mind, analyzing every detail. These humans had defied his expectations at every turn. Their shield, their ingenuity, their unyielding spirit. It all unsettled him in ways he couldn't fully explain. When they finally reached Zorathian space, Vorn called a meeting with his top advisors. The chamber was dimly lit, its walls lined, with glowing panels displaying data about Earth. Vorn stood at the center, his sharp features illuminated by the faint light. "What do we know about them?" he asked, his voice calm but commanding. His officers hesitated before responding. "They are resourceful," one said. "Their technology is rudimentary compared to ours, but they adapt quickly." "Agreed," another added. "And their culture. It's strange. They value things like art and music, concepts we rarely consider." Vorn nodded slowly. "Yes, they are different, and perhaps that is why I underestimated them. We assumed they were weak, because they lacked our power, but strength isn't always measured in weapons or shields." The room fell silent as his words sank in. Vorn turned to face his officers, his glowing eyes steady. "I will admit something I rarely say. I made a mistake. These humans are not a threat to destroy. They are a species to understand, to learn from." His declaration shocked the room. Never before had Vorn admitted fault or shown interest in diplomacy. But the encounter with Earth had changed him. It had forced him to question his beliefs and rethink his approach. Perhaps conquest wasn't always the answer. Perhaps there was another way. Back on Earth, Jack and Laura prepared for the possibility of renewed contact with the Zorathians. They worked with governments and scientists to develop a plan for peaceful cooperation. Using recordings of their previous meetings with Vorn, they crafted messages designed to foster understanding rather than fear. "If they come back," Laura told a group of diplomats, "we need to show them that we're ready to work together, but also that we won't back down." As weeks turned into months, life on Earth began to stabilize. The shield remained active, though engineers worked to refine it further. Schools reopened, businesses resumed operations, and families started to heal. Yet the memory of the attack and the lessons learned remained fresh in everyone's minds. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger than ever. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. A single Zorathian ship appeared in Earth's orbit. Its sleek design gleamed against the blackness of space, and its arrival sent ripples of concern across the planet. Was this the beginning of a second assault, or was it something else? Jack and Laura boarded a spacecraft to meet the visitor, their hearts pounding with anticipation. When they arrived aboard the alien vessel, they were greeted not by Vorn, but by a Zorathian ambassador named Sira. She was shorter than Vorn, with softer features and a calm demeanor. "I bring greetings from Commander Vorn," she said, her voice gentle. "He wishes to speak with you." Moments later, Vorn's image appeared on a large screen. He looked older, his glowing eyes dimmer than before. "Humans," he began, his tone measured. "I have reflected on our encounter. Your actions challenged my assumptions and taught me an important lesson. Strength is not always loud or aggressive. Sometimes it is quiet and enduring." Laura exchanged a glance with Jack before responding. "Thank you, Commander. We share your desire for understanding. If we work together, we can achieve great things." Vorn nodded. "I propose an alliance, not of domination, but of mutual respect. Share your knowledge with us, and we will do the same. Together we can build a better future for both our species." The offer caught everyone off guard. After months of fear and uncertainty, the idea of partnership seemed almost too good to be true. But Laura and Jack recognized the opportunity for what it was, a chance to turn adversity into progress. "We accept your proposal," Laura said firmly. "Let this mark the beginning of a new chapter." In the weeks that followed, Earth and the Zorathians began exchanging information and resources. Scientists from both sides collaborated on projects, ranging from sustainable energy solutions to advanced medical treatments. Artists and musicians shared their creations, bridging cultural gaps and fostering deeper connections. Slowly but surely, trust began to grow. For humanity, the experience became a turning point. The attack had been devastating, but it had also revealed the best of what people could achieve when they worked together. The shield, once a symbol of desperation, now represented resilience and ingenuity. And the alliance with the Zorathians proved that even the strongest enemies could become allies under the right circumstances. As the years passed, Earth transformed. Cities flourished, technology advanced, and global unity strengthened. The scars of the past remained, but they served as reminders of how far humanity had come. People looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope. They knew that challenges lay ahead, but they also knew they had the strength to face them. Jack and Laura often reflected on their journey. They had started as ordinary individuals, scientist and diplomat, tasked with protecting their planet. Along the way, they had discovered something extraordinary, that patience, determination, and unity could overcome even the greatest odds. Their story became legend, inspiring generations to come. Far beyond Earth, other civilizations took notice. Word spread of the tiny blue planet that had stood firm against the galaxy's strongest. Some saw it as a warning, others as an invitation. But all agreed on one thing. Humanity's quiet resolve had left an indelible mark on the cosmos, and so, as Earth continued to thrive and explore, it sent out a final message to the stars. We are here. We are resilient, and we will defend our home, not through hatred or fear, but through wisdom and unity. Across the galaxy, the tale of Earth's quiet warning became a beacon of hope, reminding all who heard it that patience was never weakness. It was power, waiting to be unleashed. Years passed since the Zorathians' initial attack and their eventual alliance with Earth. The scars of the conflict had faded, replaced by a sense of cautious optimism. Humanity's partnership with the Zorathians grew stronger, built on mutual respect and shared goals. Together, they worked on projects that benefited both species, advancing technology, exploring distant star systems, and addressing challenges that neither could solve alone. Jack Harper and Laura Bennett remained at the heart of this collaboration. They traveled frequently between Earth and Zorathian space, serving as ambassadors for their respective worlds. Their roles had evolved from defenders of Earth to architects of peace, bridging the gap between two vastly different civilizations. While Jack focused on scientific exchanges, helping humanity integrate advanced Zorathian technologies into everyday life, Laura dedicated herself to fostering cultural understanding. She organized events where humans and Zorathians could share art, music, and stories, proving that even the most alien cultures could find common ground. Despite the progress, not everyone was pleased with the alliance. On Earth, some people viewed the Zorathians with lingering suspicion. They attacked us once, critics argued. What's to stop them from doing it again? Others worried that relying too heavily on Zorathian technology would weaken humanity's own innovation. These concerns were valid, but Jack and Laura worked tirelessly to address them. Through open dialogues and transparent decision-making, they reassured skeptics that the partnership was about growth, not dependence. In Zorathian society, similar debates raged. Many admired Commander Vorn's decision to seek peace, but others questioned his leadership. Some believed he had shown weakness by backing down from Earth. Vorn faced these criticisms with quiet confidence, knowing that his choice had been the right one. He often reminded his people of what he had learned during the conflict, that strength wasn't just about domination, it was about adaptability, resilience, and wisdom. One day, while visiting a Zorathian research station orbiting a distant Moon, Jack, and Laura received an urgent message from Earth. A new threat had emerged, a mysterious signal detected deep in uncharted space. It was unlike anything anyone had encountered before, pulsing with strange energy patterns that defied explanation. Scientists speculated it might be a distress call or perhaps a warning. Whatever it was, it demanded investigation. Commander Vorn agreed to join forces with Earth to explore the source of the signal. Together, they assembled a joint mission team, combining human ingenuity with Zorathian expertise. Jack and Laura volunteered to lead the expedition, seeing it as an opportunity to test the bonds forged through their alliance. The journey took months, pushing the limits of both species' spacecraft. Along the way, the crew faced numerous challenges, from equipment malfunctions to unexpected cosmic phenomena, but each obstacle only strengthened their cooperation. Humans and Zorathians worked side by side, learning from one another and finding creative solutions to problems. The mission became more than just a quest for answers. It was a testament to what could be achieved when differences were set aside in pursuit of a common goal. Finally, the team reached the origin of the signal, a massive ancient structure floating in the void. Its design was unlike anything they had ever seen, a labyrinth of glowing pathways and towering spires. As they approached, sensors detected faint traces of organic material within the structure, suggesting it might have been created or inhabited by intelligent beings long ago. Exploring the structure proved to be both exhilarating and perilous. The interior was a maze of shifting walls and strange mechanisms, seemingly designed to test those who entered. At times, the crew relied on Zorathian technology to navigate treacherous sections. At others, human intuition and creativity provided. The breakthroughs needed to move forward. Jack and Laura led the way, their teamwork inspiring the rest of the team. Deep within the structure, they discovered a chamber containing a holographic projection. The image depicted a civilization far older than either Earth or the Zorathians, one that had once spanned countless star systems. According to the recording, this civilization had thrived for millennia, achieving incredible feats of science and culture. But eventually, hubris and greed led to its downfall. The signal they had detected was a final act of desperation, a plea to future explorers to learn from their mistakes. The message resonated deeply with everyone. For the humans, it served as a reminder of the dangers of division and short-sightedness. For the Zorathians, it reinforced the importance of humility and cooperation. Jack and Laura realized that the structure wasn't just a relic of the past. It was a gift meant to guide the future. When the team returned to Earth, they shared their findings with the world. The story of the ancient civilization captured imaginations across the galaxy, sparking discussions about responsibility, unity, and the legacy civilizations leave behind. Inspired by the discovery, Earth and the Zorathians launched a new initiative, the Galactic Accord. This agreement aimed to bring together diverse species from across the stars, promoting peaceful coexistence and collective progress. As part of the Accord, Earth became a hub for interstellar diplomacy. Representatives from dozens of worlds gathered to exchange ideas, resolve conflicts, and plan joint ventures. Jack and Laura played key roles in organizing these efforts, earning widespread admiration for their dedication and vision. Even former critics of the Alliance began to see its value, recognizing that humanity's survival and prosperity depended on working together. Commander Vorn, meanwhile, solidified his place as a leader of profound wisdom. Under his guidance, the Zorathians embraced a new philosophy, one rooted in cooperation rather than conquest. His decision to ally with Earth had transformed not only his own people, but also the broader galaxy. When asked about his legacy, Vorn simply said, "Strength lies not in dominating others, but in lifting them up." Back on Earth, life continued to improve. Advances in technology brought clean energy, improved healthcare, and sustainable living to communities worldwide. Art and culture flourished, enriched by influences from other worlds. People looked to the stars with hope, knowing that humanity's potential was limitless. For Jack and Laura, the journey had been transformative. What began as a desperate struggle to protect their planet had evolved into a lifelong mission to build bridges between worlds. They often reflected on how far they, and humanity, had come. From the dark days of the Zarathian attack to the dawn of a new era of galactic cooperation, their story was proof that patience, determination, and unity could overcome even the greatest challenges. And so, as Earth stood as a beacon of hope in the cosmos, it sent out a message to all who would listen. We are here, we are resilient, and we will face the unknown, not with fear, but with courage and wisdom. Across the galaxy, the tale of Earth's quiet warning became a symbol of possibility, reminding everyone that no matter how vast the universe or daunting the odds, patience was never weakness. It was power waiting to be unleashed.